Hello again.
Still on the Planet Coaster grind. We are still chipping away at the gigantic stone that is Appalachian Adventure, and this episode is going to kind of encompass mostly some building work, a lot of dolling up the joint in the new River Junction, which is the hamlet of the park that leads towards the Wendigo, the wooden roller coaster that we're ultimately going to RMC. That is a two-part episode on the horizon, which is going to slap so hard, I hope. In the meantime, we're getting there. We redo the train station. Kind of what we had before was just this very boring, bare bones, giant awning kind of canopy that encompassed both the loading platform and the cattle pen queue line, which it got the job done, but I think we could do something better. I genuinely think that we accomplished that in this build. We kind of make it look a little bit more rusticy, Dollywood-esque, if you will. Kind of like the focal inspiration for this project, if you aren't initiated on the matter yet. I mean, really, it is as simple as the old building was boring, but it just giving some more depth to a building, some more character, adding gables here or windows here, and just more texture, man. Just something to look at, really, and trying to use and utilize as many wooden in-game pieces as possible. I know this park isn't completely vanilla, but trying to, again, like I mentioned in previous videos, minimize the theme maker's toolkit usage, just because some of them are buggy and do the computer, or it gets to a point where a park will become completely inaccessible to the average user, and that's really not kind of what I'm about. That's kind of lame, kind of gross. So train station's getting a facelift, and we build a gem mining building. I wanted to incorporate Tudor architecture to kind of segue us off of Settlers Square, the Carousel Plaza, into the new River Junction. So we ultimately end up with this little building called Flumin'dales. Just trying to add more water features to the park, really. We have a retention pond in the back of the park, but outside of that, we don't really have a lot of water kind of shit happening, I guess. So if you water a tree, it'll grow.
Hello, and welcome to Gardening on Salvia.
We will go over everything in the real-time overview, timestamped down below per usual, along with that handy dandy subscribe button. It'd be kind of neat if you guys slap the shit out of that. It'd be kind of cool. Hey, 500 subs, by the way, did surpass that here within the past 3 weeks. I do greatly appreciate that. That is incredibly cool. Let's do 1,000 next. You know,
Fuck it, why not?
hit the subscribe button, comment on the video, engage with it. Let's have a conversation here, okay? Most of y'all are gonna fucking buffer through the time lapse anyway. I don't even know why I bother at this point, fucking really. So yeah, go fuck yourself.
Fuck.
The real-time overview, starting at the front of the park per usual. Just to kind of recap on the last episode, here is our
Landscaping headquarters.
This is where all the beautification of Appalachian Adventure goes down. I haven't really touched much of that since the last episode, so I'm just going to take us past Settlers Square here, and we're going to start down here at the entrance of the new River Junction. So, what did we do exactly? Well, there was a building here that was just kind of a lame little, I think I called it Chief Beef Cabin or something, and it was just a very somewhere along the lines, I tore that building out. I don't exactly remember where or why, but we just kind of had an open plot here. So I figured, let's build a building, and we will figure out what the hell we're going to put in there after the fact. And as we progressed with this build, it ultimately became a gem mining building, because I realized we didn't have that yet, and this might have been something I think that would have thematically worked a little bit better in Handyman Hills, but I wanted to kind of spread the extracurriculars out throughout the park that weren't just roller coasters, thrill rides, and stuff like that. So we settled on Flumin'dales, which is a play on Bloomingdale's, which is a high-end kind of department store based out of New York. So this is Flumin'dales, fine Appalachian jewels and gems, which the only reason it's called Flumin'dales is because I decided maybe we just build a little flume or a river kind of creek. Just some more landscaping, more water features. I know I mentioned that in the last video. It'd be fun to add more water features. You know, just something more to look at. The idea being that this will have a functioning interior, and the flume is right here. Now, this is obviously not the final interior. I still have a lot of work to do in here, but like I mentioned before, I think we just do maybe one episode where it's just doing all of the interiors in the park. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of have, there'll be a rushing water flume through the middle of this building that then spits out right here, and that's the flume. So it kind of, I wanted to make it make a little bit of sense other than there just being a a fountain and a waterfall right here. So I think that'll be kind of a fun way to incorporate this outside flume to the inside of the building. We did some, basic utility stuff, water pumps to pump the water back through the flume. Obviously, little bare bone backstage area with the train coming by.
I will never get tired of that.
So a little bare bones backstage area, the bare minimum, a concrete pad and some trash bins, and this would be the access from the inside of the park.
Use your imagination.
So we got a little bit more landscaping and planting to do in these planter beds right here, but I want to kind of break up the entrance to this building. I just don't want it to be a facade right on top of the edge of the path, give it a little bit more depth and some greenery. So that is that. Again, I mentioned the sign, greeting from the historic New River Valley. Just trying to, throughout the rest of this project, there's going to be a lot of signage going on just to kind of delineate the, what hamlets or villages you're in. So that's Flumin'dales. Kind of charming. And then back here is the redone train station. And I think this looks better. I wanted to add some more continuity with these kind of wooden stake fence pieces, and I went ahead and made that the border for this planter bed with this train. Now the idea behind this, and I might have mentioned this before, but all of this area of the park was backstage at one point, and in theory this train station wasn't always here. There were some switch tracks that led to storage facilities for old engines, and that's what these old tracks are. As the park developed and they had to tear out backstage space and make it, part of the functioning hard park, they left those in the ground just for thematic elements. And being that this caboose was on the track and it stayed, and then this old locomotive from way back in the park's history stayed on the tracks, and they just mulched around it and made it a scenery piece for the train depot. So that's kind of fun. I thought that was kind of neat. This isn't custom. This is a workshop item along with the caboose. If you're not familiar with Wings and Strings, dude is like the absolute goat when it comes to building vanilla locomotives. So wanted to give proper credit where credit is due there. You got two buildings. You got the Norfolk and Western Train Depot Passenger Excursion New River Valley Division Office. That is a mouthful. And they are now boarding Ramble Ridge 611. If you are not familiar with what 611 represents, get your train knowledge up. It is hands down the greatest steam locomotive ever built, right in my backyard in Roanoke, Virginia, the Queen of Steam. The J-Class locomotive is historic and just badass. So I wanted to pay homage to that. So now boarding Ramble Ridge 611, which being Ramble Ridge is the other train depot at the back end of the park, and we just called the train number 611. It's that simple. This would be a ticketing office. I think it'll probably serve more as like a little history kind of, not like a museum, but like just a little kind of, well, fuck it. It's going to be a tiny little museum and kind of showpiece for the history of the train lore and Appalachian Adventure. So you can either enter in through that, or you can go down this patio. This hasn't changed, and it's just a nice little kind of seating or rest area to watch the train board. And as a matter of fact, it feels inappropriate that the train isn't here.
Much better.
So it's just a nice little kind of offshoot where you can go sit, get some shade. Right, it's right in the shadow of this gigantic tree. And all I really do here is I'll just sink like 4 to 8 Brazilian nut trees. Well, this would have been 8 together. And it just really, it's kind of a girth thing. Like just one Brazilian nut in game is kind of wispy and pathetic. And with this being an older part of the park where they developed around pre-existing forestry to preserve it, like we used to do. I don't know why. Whatever. But you used to be in the game of preserving trees around the parks and building around them. So these gigantic trees, every gigantic tree you see in this park has some historical significance, I guess. So that's the train depot, and the facade is just, it's pretty basic, pretty vanilla, but I wanted to add a bell tower, and I just wanted a tower, and adding these kind of window gables just gives it a lot more character and depth. The cattle pens are still exposed to the sunlight and the elements. I didn't want to build like an awning or anything here that would kind of obstruct the view of this building's architecture. Again, it's nothing crazy special, but it's a hell of a lot better than what it was. So, and it's kind of cool if you're sitting in line, you're looking right up the Wendigo skirt right here. So that's pretty neat. I've gotten some comments from some buddies and some servers about how,
well, you don't really want to cover the train, all the soot and the smoke.
well, Busch Gardens Caribou Station in the back of the park there. completely enclosed. Can't really tie any lung cancer cases back to that.
Train station.
So this is fine. This sticks. We have a real life example we can pull from. Eat Crow. We added a little stage here with a few steps. This will just be another place where like a single bluegrass banjo player can go up and jam out and interact with guests and stuff. Just kind of looking around the park and thinking where I can add little things here and there that you would typically see in a real theme park. I mean, that is kind of the name of the game. So just a very simple little stage. Kind of wanted to augment it a little bit, give it some curvy-worvy without, you know, without detaching too far from the reality of that this is a Appalachian theme park theme to Appalachian old school building. So I didn't want to get too frisky with it. I think it works. And also this will act as like a cool little piece of entertainment if you're waiting in line for the train. Right? Okay. Haven't touched the Wendigo. We're gonna, but kind of in the design and planning phase for this, because I don't want to go in this, you know, blindfolded with my pants down. I have a few ideas of how we're gonna make this all work. I mean, if you look overhead, the brake run, the transfer track is under the station. If you aren't familiar, fun fact. The brake run runs right over top of where the chain lift starts. Now, getting this to work with an RMC could be as simple as just completely mimicking what's already there, but I think that's kind of busted. I think we're gonna reverse the direction of the station, so you just go right out into a lift hill that kind of follows this brake run, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Thought I had, I guess I don't. I used to have the lift truss that I was gonna use kind of back here and outside the park boundaries, but I think we got rid of that. Yeah, ignore all that. That is really that when it comes to getting the new River Junction ready for its gigantic RMC upgrade. We've done a little bit of work in the Blue Ridge Bicentennial, but I think this is going to be a standalone episode. Disregard this coaster. I guess we can jump into TEGIDCAM at this point.
Motherfucker.
Alright, so we'll run it back from here at the end of Settlers Square, the park entrance and such, under the train trestle. Bang a left past the carousel. You got, I don't know what that is. I think I need to get rid of that. And I don't know if I'm in love with these carts or not. They feel kind of out of place. Oh, greetings from Appalachian Adventure. This is supposed to be a photo op opportunity kind of station. This template comes from my buddy Chris, also Chris on the Steam Workshop. I'll try to link that in the description down below. Totally forgot I had that. So we come through here, and I added some more rocks and some more ground cover kind of planty stuff just to kind of stabilize this hill without having to extend the massive retaining walls, because again, working within the confines of realism and practicality, this retaining wall that holds up the train is probably very expensive. So we just threw some boulders up here to stabilize this bank right here. So we got the new River Junction. This building doesn't serve a purpose. There's nothing in it. It's just kind of a little scenery piece. Pass under your little lights. And greetings from the historic New River Valley. Did a couple plants in here. A nice little planter bed. Maybe... Oh, and a little park exit sign. Just, again, signage and foliage throughout just to kind of... It really sells, like, the establishment a lot more that, like, this has been around a while. So... I kind of like the, I'm a big proponent of biodiverse lawns. I think Roundup is horrible for the environment. As disheveled and overgrown as I can make a lot of the landscaping look outside of the designated pruned and maintained mulch beds, we're going to go for it. So just throwing up rocks and ground cover any which way to Sunday has kind of been the move. You got the Flumin'dales building right up there with the nice little advertisement, nice little water feature to look at. You know, just giving us a little bit more to look at. You got the Wendigo looming in the background. You got your 3-point game. And let's head towards the train depot. Now, I was really putting an emphasis on this vista right here. Like, if I'm coming up through the New River Junction and I bang a left, it's kind of hard to miss the train depot. I mean, it's right there 3 times. Blue Ridge Railroad Train Depot, Norfolk and Western Train Depot, depot entrance. Plus, this handy-dandy sign over here. So, if you can't find the train, that is a personal problem. I have exhausted all my options and resources. So as you're passing past the Shenandoah Shithouse, which is a functioning restroom, you get a nice little view of the train. And that kind of ties into the little seating area right there. So I just wanted to make sure we maintained some lines of sight that made it a lot easier for the directionally challenged to figure out where the hell they were going. So you can either pass under the through the little museum that we're gonna do in here, Or you can go around it entirely because
Learning's for nerds.
and you just follow the depot entrance sign. Again, very hard to miss. Coming back up here, you got the old train locomotive, the new wooden kind of curb block right there, and this building right here will probably get a facelift during the Wendigo renovations, and we'll tie that more into the Wendigo itself. Gift shop kind of thing, strictly for the new coaster. And then there's our wall that we went over in the last video. So that's really all to cover over on this end, but let's just go ahead and, for safe measure, go back to this side of the new River Junction. I don't think I've really shown off these views all that much, but you got the mighty Appalachian looping machine looking well established and rested up in here, and more new River Junction livery and signage, with the Bigfoot poking off in the background over here. The distillery up here on the left, this hasn't changed really. I know this is kind of a lazy interior, but the idea being that here's your seating and they bring your food out through these doors. Don't think too much into it. It's really just kind of supposed to be a transitional space between the main path and the music venue back there. So the New River Junction, proud home of the world famous mighty Appalachian looping machine, along with the New River Valley Entertainment District, which is really just the distillery and the arcade in this tiny little passageway. I think it's cool. I know I've mentioned this before in the past videos, but there are sections of Dollywood and or Busch Gardens Williamsburg where the paths get a little narrow. So I wanted to kind of do that here. You could call this a church. I'm not, but you could, I guess. Maybe we'll work that into a church. And then there is our Giga Coaster, standing proud in the background. Ignore that. We'll get to that at some point. We got the Lil Bandit, which is the kiddie coaster that is prematurely themed to Iron Bandit, which will be the theme that we run with the RMC-ed Wendigo. So that won't change once we RMC it. That'll just stay Lil Bandit. Kind of jumped the gun on that, but I don't want to have to redo the whole skin of a fucking kiddie coaster. I got way more important things to do with my time. The little kind of seating area, for the parents that are letting the kids ride the coaster. Got kind of a kinked off, knocked down little lamp here. Yeah. So the Brush Mountain Marketplace has been gutted, and that will kind of turn into like a little flea market thing, for vendors and stuff, outside vendors in the park. And, backstage access gates here, and there is Appalachian Anarchista with the skylift to the top.
Pay no mind to that.
So that's really all that's been going on in the New River Junction over here. Here's the entrance to the mighty Appalachian looping machine. Still got to make a sign. That's just something that'll happen off camera and pop up in the park on its own time. So yeah, the New River Junction is pretty much done, and it feels nice to finally be going in somewhat of a sequential order here. We got Settler Square pretty much done. We got the Carousel Plaza pretty much done, and now, like I said, we're working in a loop around the park, and we will eventually be done. So Settler Square done, New River Junction minus the RMC pretty much done, and like I mentioned earlier, done a little Blue Ridge Bicentennial work, got footage backlog for that. That'll be its own video. And now
We can start working towards getting this RMC built, goddammit.
okay, in the meantime, be good to each other, be good to yourself, and go touch grass and get that ass, boys. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you dearly. I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.